Clix, Peterbot, and Yomzo just won the Trio Cash Cup finals. Are they now going to stick together as a trio to play out the rest of the season? What is going on with Mr. Savage? He just came almost last place with Chap and Rezon. Are they now going to split up as a trio? And what is coming out in the new update? We're getting a few new weapons. Could they make the season better or potentially even worse? There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Both EU and NA were absolute banger tournaments, but we'll kick off talking about NA. And I'm sure if you follow any social media, you've probably heard about this. We had Clix, Peterbot, and Yomzo win the Trio Cash Cup finals. This means Clix and Yomzo have won back-to-back finals now, 3 in a row. So Peterbot being called up last minute yesterday during the Open, starting an hour late, making finals, and then winning the finals, even with Peterbot playing on, apparently, according to him, not only 50 ping from LA, but 60 FPS. He's playing on his girlfriend's setup, new keyboard, new mouse, all of that still popped off. Now, a lot of people are going to be quick to say, and Peterbot admitted this himself, Peterbot did not play fantastic in the finals. He didn't sell, he didn't play absolutely terribly, they still won, but Clix and Yomzo were carrying the brunt of this, and Yomzo especially pulling off some insane solo clutches. And it was really cool to see Peterbot admit that while playing as well. The Clix and Peterbot's vibe was very different to what you normally have when they're on opposite teams. Normally it's yelling and screaming and, you know, they're smack talking each other and egos and all this. Peterbot actually just chilled out, was really relaxed, just sitting in back top, playing the fragger role, letting Yomzo completely IGL, and they dominated. 392 points. It wasn't even close. They got a 7 elim 5th, a 12 elim 2nd, 8 elim 5th, 9 elim 6th, 6 elim 3rd, and a 5 elim 7th. So they had an average placement of 4.67 with an average elims of 7.83. Just really, really solid performance across the board. They did it out of the first order base as well, which is their POI they've been going. Pete obviously hasn't been going there before, but Clix and Yomzo very, very comfortable with his drop, and it's starting to show. There was a lot of other big name teams, at least not like official trios, but new trios and newly formed trios for a bit of fun in this tournament. But most of the rest of the top 10, I feel like, were pretty underrated trios, or at least the rest of the top 5. We had Shadow, Virgo, and Craze coming in second on 325 points. They were contested off spawn, or at least they had a lot of teams around them at the resistance base. They ended up doing really well considering this. They had one 30th place game, but outside of that, got a 4th, 7th, 2nd, 1st, and 8th. So very, very consistent from 3 players who you've definitely heard of and you've seen them around, and quite often the 3 of them actually find themselves filling in a lot of the tier 1 teams, but never actually finding themselves on that super strong team where they've seen a ridiculous amount of success. So I'm excited to see this trio continue to do well. I think they have a lot of potential. Then we had Taki, Ishu, and Vert, who finished on 308 points. Again, all of their placements being inside the top 10, so very, very consistent from them. Then we had our new trio, Muzz, Rapid, and Booga, who there was a little bit of drama going into the finals. We had Booga tweeting out that Rapid wasn't willing to change setups to play the finals because he didn't want to pay for a $50 Uber fee. This just does seem like a troll at this point. I'm pretty sure Booga and Rapid are trolling each other. Booga's ended up deleting the tweet. I wanted to go check if it was still up, but Booga said something along the lines of Rapid can't play finals on his setup, but he's not willing to go to Reed's house and play on his setup because of the $50 Uber. So I don't even know anymore. I think if you see anything from Rapid and Booga about hating each other, at this point, it's got to be a troll. They did well, 4th place overall. Scare, Edgy, and Chance, who were in 1st place for a lot of the tournament or jostling for 1st with Peterbot, Clix, and Yomzo, ended up dropping down to 5th. They got a 2 elim 3rd, 10 elim 3rd, and a 9 elim win, kicking off the tournament, absolutely popping off out of brutal boxcars. Then they got a 16th, 13th, and 11th, unfortunately, dropping them down to 5th. Still a good performance, but not quite as good as a lot of people expecting. Some of the bigger names, I think a lot of people had eyes on, Ritual, Reet, and Poyo, unfortunately finishing in 9th place overall. Acorn, Bolt, and Sphinx finishing in 10th. We had Joji, Bryce, and Osid, who had a very inconsistent tournament. They only played 5 games. They didn't queue into game 1, but they won 2 of the 5 games they played. So pop-off potential, but not really having the consistency. This EU finals was an extremely exciting one. We also just had a whole bunch of EU pros streaming. Again, shout out to EU for bringing the content right now. I think today's finals, we had 17 POVs, 17 teams of 33 streaming of finals is awesome. Between all the French orgs who are bringing their POVs, Gentlemates, Havoc, Solari, all those guys, we also just had a bunch of pros streaming it, and it was really cool to see. Compare that to NA, where we had like 3 or 4 POVs, which just was really weird to see EU producing more content. But outside of just who was streaming, the finals was super exciting. Swizzy, Malibuka, and Flixie, who won the whole thing, had a terrible start to the tournament. They came out with a 15th and a 25th, just right down the leaderboard, and then they started to turn up. 18 kill win, 17 kill second, 11 kill third, and a 2 kill fourth. Now, if you want to check out how this team does so well, I actually made a video on my React channel where they drop a 51 kill win in opens. Check that out at the end of this video. It is a banger. It'll teach you a lot about how to W key in this meta, but they still did it in finals. They played phenomenally. Now, we had Wheaton, Frizzy, and Ilusha come in second on 309 points, so quite a drop down the leaderboard, but it's worth pointing out Wheaton, Frizzy, and Ilusha won last week and then came second this week. Malabuka came second last week and won this week. So really, really good consistency from these players right now. Obviously figuring out the strategy. Wheaton, Frizzy, and Ilusha are doing it on the back of the forecast. Again, I've explained this a bunch of times, but if you don't know, if you get 200 gold and you go to layer over near Lone Wolf, you get forecast. Only one player gets it. Make sure you don't buy it on the first zone because it glitches out and you only get it for the next zone. As long as you buy it after second zone, you get it for every remaining zone of the game, which is obviously extremely overpowered, and that is what Wheaton's team is doing to kind of, you know, get these good placements. I really hope they can keep up the consistency coming into the new season, but right now, looking phenomenal out of Magic Mosses. We had Pink, Nebs, and Kiro, who 3 games in were actually in first place. They got a 13 Elim win, 8 Elim 6th, and a 5 Elim 3rd. Had a couple rough games and then brought it back with a 7 Elim 6 for the podium finish, doing really well. And then we did have quite a sizable drop down. We had a French team in 4th. I don't know the last time we've seen a full French trio inside the top 5. Really excited to see Snazy's team pull this off. Then we had Dexy, Eclipse, and Twy, who did it with an 18 Elim 3rd in their last game to surge up the leaderboard. Again, I love shouting out the brothers. Eclipse and Twy are biological brothers. I have no idea how they're trioing together in Fortnite. There's a lot of pros who talk about not getting too close with your teammates because, you know, you can be a little bit too honest with them. That's got to go to another level when they're your brother. I love my brother to death, but I could never compete in Fortnite, especially at this high of a level with my brother. It would be constant arguments. So shout out them for somehow pulling it off. Then we had Ankido's team in 6th. We had Cheatin in 7th, Trulex in 8th, Akira in 9th, and then Queasy, Veno, Feroxy in 10th. You might be thinking, Aussie, why is Queasy, Venom, and Feroxy so far down the leaderboard? It was actually even worse until the last game. They got a 14 Elim win in game 6 to clutch up and at least get to top 10. They were outside the top 20 before that last game, and it wasn't just them. We had a lot of really big names struggle, one of which I'm sure you want to hear me talk about: Chap, Mr. Savage, and Rezon. What happened? Did Mr. Savage get contested in the finals? No, we actually got to watch Mr. Savage finally play a finals game while uncontested, but it didn't go their way. They got a 20th, 22nd, 22nd, 23rd, 21st, 21st. So they weren't going down right on spawn, but they were going down in one of the first couple fights they took after making it off spawn. There were a few games. They got a 5 Elim and a 5 Elims and 3 Elims in their last 2 games. So they started to get a bit more movement going in their mid-game fights, but there just always was a third party. And that's one of the biggest issues when it comes to Crime City. It's quite difficult to get your surge around Crime City and still make it out and be healthy, and that's pretty much what caused such an upset for this team. It is worth pointing out though, Visuals, Braze, and Diminished over on NA with uncontested Crime City came 6th in the finals. So different teams, different regions, but I do think Chat, Mr. Savage, and Rezon underperformed. They are a phenomenal fighting trio. I really thought if they were going to have any issues, it might be a bit with their endgame chemistry as they haven't played together much. I really thought this trio would dominate this mid-game fight. So bit of an unlucky tournament. Rezon said on multiple occasions he feels like he just wasn't fighting as well as what he normally can. It is worth pointing out though, a lot of people thinking, oh, they're definitely going to split up. I had Reet in my chat saying that Chap is definitely going to drop them. I don't think so. Their vibes were really good right until the very end. I think they know what went wrong, and I don't think it was anything they can't easily fix. It was a bad day. I don't think they should just throw everything out the window, give up on all the vibes, and finally having a solid trio with a good drop spot. I'm sure they can fix things up, and I think they're going to stick together. We have the Eval Cup taking place today as of you watching this video, so there is already a tournament so close, you're not going to have time to find another trio. So you might as well queue up the Eval Cup together and have another chance at it. I think this trio has massive potential. They did just mess up a few fights. It is worth pointing out though, they weren't the only good team that struggled. We had Vidil, Cringe, and Volko come 32nd, their highest placement being a 24th in the 6 games they played. We had Ping, Wox, and Scroll in 31st. They did only play 5 games. It is worth pointing out, Scroll is on new keybinds now. He is no longer Scroll. He doesn't have to scroll through all his binds anymore. He has set keybinds, but they struggled. They came 31st. So we had Chap, Savage, and Rezon, Ping, Wox, and Scroll, and Vidil, Cringe, and Volko in 30th, 31st, and 30th 32nd. Like, it looks like a flipped leaderboard. I don't think I would ever see this many good teams this far down the leaderboard. And again, Queasy, Venom, and Froxy were like outside the top 20 until the last game, so they could have easily had a bad tournament. Tayson, Chicho, and Panzer, they came 12th. Not a bad placement, but not exactly phenomenal. We had Seti, Hari, and Cammy come 16th. Vanya, Pixie, Marius, our FNCS winners, come in 15th. Shark, Yanis, and Mixon coming in 18th. Most of these teams with uncontested drops that they know well. So I don't want to just, you know, have a big cop out and anyone who does well doesn't deserve it. And if you do poorly, it doesn't matter. But there is some goofy stuff in this season. We have quite a few pros complaining about the lightsabers. Darth Vader's lightsaber is just absurd. I know everyone's focusing so much on the force pull, the suck ability at the start of the season. Most pros are getting pretty good at hearing the audio cue and then holding their builds to catch themselves. But the Darth Vader lightsaber just has no counter. It is absurd. Just throwing it through boxes, using the Jawa shotgun to hit them for 180 instantly. It is a bit brutal. Some of these teams are splitting up and looking for new teammates now. Shark is now looking for a new trio, for example. A lot of them will stick together or will shuffle up amongst their friends. I'm pretty sure Fredoxy is not going to be playing with Queasy and Veno anymore as well. He's looking for a new team for the last trio cash cup. So it's a pretty goofy season. I wouldn't take these placements as too much of an issue. I'm personally looking way more at vibes. That's why I'm still liking Mr. Savage's team so much. They seem to be enjoying themselves and playing together. I wouldn't freak out too much based on these placements. That's all I'm saying. We do have another update right around the corner, which could make things even worse. With this week's update, which should have the guns in the Eval Cup, which we'll be watching, we have the West Star. I watched a bit of Star Wars. I have no idea what this is referencing, but we have these blaster pistols, and they're dual-wield blaster pistols that are fully automatic, and they're designed for brief but intense surprise attacks at close range. The very best statement piece one can wear making a grand entrance. Now, they have an absurd fire rate of 5 and a headshot damage of 44. So I'm a little bit concerned to see how these go. I think they're going to be like the rapid fire SMG, just point blank, just barrel stuff, just instantly kill someone. We'll see how that goes. The other one that I think a lot of pros are going to be triggered about is the Ambin sniper rifle. This does over 200 headshot damage at every rarity. So it comes in blue, purple, and gold rarity. I believe this is going to go in competitive because pretty much every item is going in competitive right now. So I'm going to guess both of these are. We'll have to wait and see. I'll probably do an entire update video if there's more content than this, but both these weapons looking pretty crazy. If these are in the loot pool, I don't think the pros are going to be any happier with the meta, but it should still be a bit of fun. Something that looks like it might be a bit of fun or might not be is Hypex's leak of an upcoming Fortnite ability, which is like a shove. Apparently, we're going to have the ability to push someone. Now, we don't know if this is just going to go into creative or it's going to go into battle royale. I'm assuming if it goes into battle royale, you can't do it to teammates. Otherwise, that's going to lead to so much team killing and so much toxicity. Fortnite used to have friendly fire in the game, the good old days, but they removed that because of how toxic it was. There's still a few items in the game that you can use to kill your teammates, so there is a potential that it will be in. A lot of people are saying it might be some kind of like sprinting ability where you like shove into them, kind of like we had the medallion work last season where you didn't break through walls like Nitro, but if you hit someone, you push them back a little bit. It could be something like this, but it looks like for those of you guys who hate all the new mechanics Fortnite's adding, they're not slowing down anytime soon. We are getting more and more new mechanics in Fortnite. We just have to deal with it. I'm just excited. This looks like it's a new mechanic that isn't going on my spacebar to add to the other 19 mechanics on the spacebar. If you guys want to see how the new weapons and the update are going, I'm probably live right now on YouTube watching the Eval Cup. I'm doing a 12-hour stream for EU and NA. Just click on my icon, go to the live, check me out, come say good day. I'd really appreciate it.